There is something really, really bad and disturbing that is happening at Facebook. And Sohrab Armari is with us. He is the op-ed editor of the New York Post. He was with us earlier this week or last week talking about being banned and still not having access. The New York Post still doesn't have access to their Twitter feed. And they won't get it until they retract the Hunter Biden story, which is looking more and more like the biggest scandal in American political history every single day. But there's a new angle on this. Sohrab, welcome to the program. How are you?
Good morning, Glenn.
You broke some news yesterday that, you can't really tweet or retweet because headlines don't tell the full story. You can read the article on Twitter before retweeting. You have the story, Meet Your Chinese Facebook. Tell me about it.
It's, the headline, just so people can find it, because social media is so screwy in terms of how it treats the New York Post, and that's a separate shameful story. The headline is Meet Your Chinese Facebook Censors.
Yep.
And the gist of the story is that last week, after observing what Facebook was doing to the New York Post, a former Facebook high-ranking insider got in touch with me and shared a number of things. But among the things he shared was an opportunity to shed light on the actual mechanics of how Twitter does its censorship. And what
Twitter or Facebook?
I apologize, Facebook.
Okay, all right.
What it reveals to me, as I argue in the article, is the most sophisticated censorship mechanism possibly in human history. And it's a team at Facebook called Hate Speech Engineering. George Orwell, Call Your Office. And it's a team that is mostly based in Seattle, Washington. And this insider shared with me the directory of the staffers who work on that team. And he noted, and we verified using LinkedIn, that at least 6 of these team members are Chinese nationals. What the team does is they basically use machine learning, teaching computers to do things on their own without the need for direct human action. So they use machine learning and what's called neural networks to rejigger the news feed that you get. So you have Glenn's Facebook feed, what you see, what all your friends have shared. What this team does is ensure that certain content goes up on top, and for that they get discretionary bonuses according to the insider. But it also ensures that certain other content shows dead last. Like, for example, in this case, it seems like this is the mechanism they use, a New York Post story that's damning about Hunter and Joe Biden 3 weeks out before an election.
Now, let me ask you this. These are people that they're PhDs and they have H-1B visas, so they're coming in from China. Are they experts in the Chinese censorship programs?
Well, we don't know. What I looked up is, and out of courtesy to Facebook, when we reached out to them, we didn't share their names, even though we have their names. We have a lot of information about them that you can access once you know their names and where they work. But we didn't share that just out of courtesy to Facebook. But
good for you.
What we did find is that at least one of them used to work for Huawei, which is a Chinese tech conglomerate that is closely bound up with the Chinese regime. A lot of them went to universities like University of Nanjing, the Chinese Academy of Sciences. These are all, it's not like here where it's like, I don't know, George Washington U or what have you. These are all state-based, state-supported entities, and they have deep links to the Chinese security apparatus. So even though we don't know exactly whether they did censorship for the Chinese regime, what we do know is that the institutions that trained them, are state entities. And another one worked for, the signal service, signal telegraph service for the Chinese railway, again, a state enterprise. And look, because they're H-1Bs, a lot of tech companies hire H-1B employees, Indians, Chinese, Eastern Europeans. It's not all nefarious. A lot of them to be honest, just, we have nothing against the fact that there's Chinese people working at Facebook. A lot of them just want to, share in the American dream and settle in this country. But because they're H-1Bs, it means that some of them could go back. So another worry is, will they then take back the techniques for social control that they perfected and learned at Facebook to the most repressive society when it comes to this stuff, and help Xi Jinping further repress, the free flow of information in his own society?
This is so evil.
Creepy.
I mean, it is just evil what is happening right now, and we see it in what they're doing to you and the Post and your reporting. We know now. We have it from multiple sources, including a guy who was the CEO of the Biden firm that was, putting the Chinese deal together, confirming that email is true, that the big guy is Joe Biden. We have all that, and yet it's still being called a conspiracy theory, and you're not able to get your accounts back on social media.
Now, bear in mind, the gentleman you're talking about is a U.S. Navy veteran, served 4 years, and then got into business, including, probably to his regret, with Hunter Biden. And, he has come clean with a statement saying, to the extent that I have made political contributions, which are small, I've made them to Democratic causes and candidates. So he's not some Republican. This is Hunter Biden's business partner.
Right.
He's not some Republican figure. And he's saying, as a patriot, as someone who served in the U.S. military and the armed forces, it offends me that people talk about this stuff as Russian disinformation, because it sullies his reputation, right? When you talk about something that was a Russian conspiracy. So he just said, because of my conscience, and I'm paraphrasing, but basically my conscience tells me to come out clean and say, this is not Russian disinformation. A lot of stuff that was anti-Trump the past 4 years that Facebook and Twitter never censored truly was Russian disinformation, not least the famous, infamous dossier, the P-tape and so forth.
Well,
it was concocted by the Russians. This guy is saying, the stuff that the Post reporter is not Russian disinformation. And I think a lot of pundits, reporters, not to mention big tech CEOs, owe the New York Post a groveling apology. Not that I'm holding my breath.